Does the schedule change your outlook for the Saints season at all? On Wednesday, Nick and I we talked about kind of what's a realistic amount of winnable games. Then
Yeah.
later that day on stream, we continued that discussion. So if you're not subscribed to NewOrleans.Football, make sure you're subscribed. Use code NOF for 20% off your first payment. Mike, where are you at with this team? Where are you at in hope? Where are you at in pessimism? Not
Yeah.
pessimism, but like, kind of realistically, where are you at right now? And now that the schedule is out, you see the order. Where do you think they're going to end up?
Yeah, I think Nick and I both came to about the same win total projection for the team, which is 5. Where were you?
I was lower. I
You
was
were
lower.
lower.
It was at 4.
Yeah, to explain my 5, and this was before the schedule came out that I said 5. I mean, it's just the NFL, man. It like everybody beats everybody. The Saints last year, we were talking about this off air. They spotted the Washington Commanders an entire first half in that game that Jake Hayner started, and he was struggling so much in that game they had to pull him at halftime, and they were being shut out at halftime, and they almost come back and beat the Commanders. Week 18 with Spencer Rattler and like 4 other starters healthy, I think, on the entire team. They go into Tampa Bay, a playoff team, and they're winning that game for 55 minutes. I mean, it's the NFL. You win a couple games you're not supposed to, and then there's a ton of games on this schedule that they should be able to win at home against the Giants, at home against the Patriots. This is a 4th-place schedule, and it looks like it. I mean, Jets, Titans. So I think they can get to 5. This is and they're not a horrible team when healthy still. I mean, I think their offensive line is going to be a strength. Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara is still going to be on this team, and Demario Davis is still going to be on this team. We're going to talk about maybe additions still to come. So anyway, I feel okay with 5, even though, yeah, I would put them probably in the bottom 3 or 4 of any team. I would just, I'm going to pick the Jets to win 5. I'm going to pick the Giants to win 5. It's the NFL, like I said. But I feel even better about that prediction when I see the schedule. So the thing I always look at when I see an NFL schedule, especially in the years when we're like, all right, how's this going to affect the Saints' chances to win the division? The first one is, do they have any just like horrible travel short weeks? I mean, we've had some doozies in recent years where they were either playing a road Monday night game, which I think is about the worst thing you can see on a schedule, or 2 years in a row at Arizona on a Thursday night, at LA on a Thursday night, where not only are you playing on the road on a Thursday night, you're going 2 time zones away.
Right.
And last year, I remember, all right, they got to go at Kansas City on Monday night and then hurry up and get back home on a Tuesday. And boom, you're playing Tampa Bay, the most important game of your season, 5 days later. And then 4 days after that, they had to play Denver. And that's right about the time their season derailed last year.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we've talked about it. There's none of that. There's no primetime games. There's no Monday nights. There's no Thursday nights. It's there's nothing on this schedule that is going to be like the Saints are going to lose because they're jet lagged. The Saints are going to lose because of this short rest. Frankly, it should help them stay healthier too. In theory, if you get 7 days between every single game you play, I mean, I know there's a tough boom at Seattle, at Buffalo. So that's not easy, but you get ample full 7 days rest between every single game on your entire schedule. You're never in an airplane and then getting home at Tuesday and at 3:30 in the morning after a night game. So that makes me feel better. The flip side, though, that makes me feel real negative. I know you and Nick talked about this before the schedule came out, and I know we talked about it in our roundtable discussion that we also did on the website with me and Nick and John Hendricks. It's so important to get off to a good start,
Yeah,
because you got a new coaching staff, new coach, new quarterback, obviously, whoever that may be, probably Tyler Shuck. And you just, you get a little win or two under your belt early, you get that buy-in, you get that momentum, you get that energy, you get that excitement. And so I hate the first month of this season. Is it their 2 most difficult home games? They're very 2. I mean, unless you want to say Tampa Bay, but versus the Cardinals versus the 49ers. So you get 2 games at home to start. But if you're not ready and you haven't figured out what you are yet, those are 2 teams that are going to keep you in your place. And then at Seattle and then at Buffalo. This schedule's kind of screaming 0-4, and this is a team that needs to sneak out a couple wins early.
yeah, for sure, no question about it. That goes to the point of, do they have to get one of these home games? Do they have to
Yeah.
get one of them?
I think they do, right? I mean, if we've already resigned ourselves to thinking this is a 5-win team, a 4-win team, then you take have to with a grain of salt. I mean, what they have to do this year is find their quarterback. You know, hopefully that's Tyler Shuck. Tyler Shuck needs to look better in December than he looks in September. Kellen Moore needs to get better at his job in December than he is in September. Kelvin Banks and Tali Fuaga and Kool-Aid McKinstry and guys who are going to be building blocks of this team need to be better in December than they are in September. So do they have to win a game in week 1 or week 2? No. But when the schedule makers give you 2 home games in weeks 1 and 2, and oh, by the way, this is one of those years where they have 8 home games, 9 road games. You can do the math. All right. That means over the last 16 weeks of the season, you've got 5 home games and 9 road games. So you got to take advantage of your opportunities. And like I said, it's just, man, would it feel good, especially with these 2 teams. Arizona, is obviously just sort of a middle of the road team in the NFL. The Niners are a premier team, but they're coming off a down year and they lost a lot of guys in free agency. But man, would it feel good to beat one of them. You get the home crowd going. Like I said, you don't want to be 0-2 going, and being like, what do we got coming up? At Seattle, at Buffalo. You could be looking at 0-4. So, yeah, I think it would be really, really important for the fans, for the veterans in the locker room, for the energy. I mean, we love Demario Davis. We love Alvin Kamara. We love Tyrann Mathieu. But those guys are aware of their career mortality, Cam Jordan. It's going to be really disappointing if the calendar still says September and they already know that they've got nothing to play for.
Yeah, and that's I think is the main point of this, that you have to get the flavor of a win early. That has to not just for the city, but for Tyler Shuck, for the veterans in the locker room, like kind of like some of the points you just made. You can't have him go into what is that, October the 5th against the Giants looking for his first win. That's a whole month worth of football where you've just been losing and just constantly deteriorating of the locker room that may occur during that, because it's so brand new. It's so new in terms of who is Kellen Moore as a coach. We talked about it the other day. What games are going to show what he's made of? It's really these early games on what kind of punch you walk out of the gate with, because it's very important to set the tone for the season. And even with San Francisco, I know they had a down year last year. They lost a couple of guys, but it's early enough in the season where they're still going to be healthy. It's early enough in the season where you're getting one of their best punches early on in the season. Now, even week 1 is going to show what the defense can do, because for years struggling with mobile quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, arguably one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. You're going to have to make it happen in those first 2 weeks just to set the tone of what the season is going to be and get the flavor in the mouth of having people bought in. Because if you lose, think about this, you lose against Arizona, you lose against San Francisco, you got the 2 road games where they got to go across the whole entire country.
Yeah.
Coming back in October with the Giants game, what's the incentive to even go at a point?
Yeah.
I'm talking about diehard fans and fair weather fans. Like, to the point of, okay, we'll go in there for the Giants game, say that's a close one that they lose, and then New England comes to town, it becomes dark quick on, why am I even going?
Yeah. It's a real threat. I mean, I think the fans are going to bring some energy, be excited to be back in the dome for those first 2, but you're right. Those next 2 are going to be if you want to sell your tickets and get a little bit of that money back, you better sell those first 2.
Yeah.
But a team came into my mind while we were having this discussion, and it's Carolina Panthers of last year. They were the lowest of low teams. They were the only team in the NFL, we're going to talk about this in a minute, that had no primetime games on their schedule. Bryce Young stunk as a rookie, and there was fears that, oh man, Bryce Young might have been a failed draft pick.
Yeah, they benched him.
This was a lousy team. And so here's what their season looked like last year. They lost their first 2, then they won 1, which was probably important, but then they lost their next 5. So they were 1-7. Am I doing my math here? The Panthers were 1-7 last year. But it's all about this young team, getting Bryce Young right for the future, trying to be patient, trying to think long term. And then they won 2 in a row. They beat the Saints, very famously, got Dennis Allen fired. They beat the Giants in overtime. And then they won again in week 16. They won again in week 18, beating going into Atlanta and winning in overtime. So they ended up 5-12, but 4 wins over the last 9 games, 4-5 down the stretch. I mean, that could be what we're looking at with the Saints. We could be looking at a 1-7 start and a 4-5 finish. And then, people are going into this offseason thinking, hey, the Panthers are pointed in the right direction. Bryce Young started playing some good football. They've got a few things to build off of now. If you tell me how do I think the Saints season is going to play out, it might be 1-7 in the first half, 4-5 in the second half, 5-12 overall. I mean, that's probably the most realistic scenario of what this season looks like.
Yeah, the only thing that can be is if they're ahead of schedule, because that will set them up on the trajectory for success. But just thinking about the first 2 weeks from last season when they whooped Carolina and they whooped Dallas in Dallas, man.
You can't bring the first 2 weeks of last season again, man. It just hurts. It hurts everyone listening.
It does, man. You can walk in a corner store, buy a corner store gas station hat, and that be the equivalent of having a Super Bowl jersey, just because the energy was so high surrounding the team, and then it all went flat from there. But yeah, I think this is really important on setting the tone for just the trajectory going forward, because as a point I brought up in last show, there is no break glass in case of emergency, fire the coach, and then elevate the special teams people's champion coach to come and save your season. That's not on the table right now. It can't happen.
You're right.
You got to make it happen.